It's a
All right,
Guardians
Jay, you
move.
teased this general manager conversation twice, so let's dive into it. After a quick reminder that today's episode is brought to us by Epicor. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, in practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes the win easier. At Epicor, the All-Stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes, also easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global visions, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most out of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That is easierwithepicor.com. We alluded to this earlier. Jay, you teased it twice. But let's look at the general manager position across sports. We have Koby Altman with the Cavs, Andrew Berry with the Browns, Chernoff and Antonetti with the Guardians. It's not just specifically those 3 or 4 guys. We're taking this big picture. But, Jay, I'll start with you. Of the 3 main professional sports, which job do you think is the hardest, or which sport do you think it is the hardest to be the general manager of a team in?
Okay, I'm going to go backwards, and I'll say the easiest, in my view, is baseball, because you can spend however much money you want. And so if you happen to be the general manager of, say, the Dodgers or the Mets, how hard is it to go out and sign Soto in the offseason if you got the checkbook for it? There's no restrictions. There's no limitations. The NBA and the NFL both have huge spending limitations. I think the NBA more than the NFL. And for that reason, and because the NFL is set up to be built through the draft, and it's punitive to be good in the NFL in the draft, I say it's hardest to be a great NBA general manager, particularly now, because there are so many guardrails up now in terms of spending, and it is difficult to build through the draft when you get 2 guys a year. I just think it's NBA, and I'm really curious to see where you guys go with this.
Now you say what what is the hardest? To me, I think the most difficult is, and it's very close, I think the most difficult is the NFL. And the reason I'll give you this is why. Because I think more than anybody, NFL general managers have the shortest leash. I feel like you get a couple of years, and then you're linked to people. Some organizations have you linked with the coach. Like here in Cleveland, it seems like Kevin Stefanski was hired. Kevin Stefanski was hired before Andrew Berry, right? And they seem to be kind of getting contracts at the same time, so they're kind of linked. There are also parts of the organization where analytics are involved, and people think that they report to DePodesta, another guy who's not there. Then you get into the situation where you have ownership. If you have a great owner, like say you look at it, and you have the Rooneys or some of the other people like in Kansas City, or you could have Jimmy Johnson, Jerry Jones, you could have Jimmy Haslam. You could have a bunch of different things. And if you ain't got a quarterback, you dead out here. So you got to get a lot of things right. You got to hit on the quarterback. You got to have a decent owner. You got to have, the infrastructure where you can get along with people. I think that in basketball, if you just straight up luck up and get LeBron, you're good. You luck up and you get Kevin Durant, you're pretty good. Baseball, like you said, all you need is the money. If you're how good is the Dodgers general manager?
Yeah, well,
I could do that job.
With a checkbook like that, it's easy to look good.
Right. Like, so I'm gonna go with the
You're
NFL.
going NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball.
Yes.
How do you rank it?
I texted this morning. This is funny. I texted 2 gentlemen who were both in that chair at one time.
Okay.
And different sports.
Yep.
And said, having some fun today as a topic on the show. What do you think? And both of them, in various forms, Guess what the answer was? Take a guess.
Baseball?
Well, based on the fact that I said baseball was the easiest, they probably said
hardest.
baseball's the hardest.
They both said the one with the bad owner.
That's
a good one.
That is the
So
true
how
great
about
answer.
that, right?
Yeah.
No,
How
that
How about
is
that?
the true
That's
great
where
answer.
both of them went, was the one with the bad owner.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Owners drive so much of this conversation that we don't pay any
Yeah, because
attention
when you
to.
were saying in the NFL you have to deal with owners, I thought, well, hell, NBA and
Right.
Major League
That-
Baseball
that-
have
that-
gotta
owners
deal
too.
with owners.
Yes.
You gotta deal
And you
with
can have a
owners.
meddlesome owner like the old George Steinbrenner,
Or a new owner that want to make a splash like with the Suns.
or a cheap owner that
Yeah.
doesn't have a checkbook.
I actually wrote this in the Miles piece that I wrote. I know executives, particularly in the NBA, who have passed on GM jobs because of the owner wouldn't spend.
Yeah.
And if you have an owner who notoriously won't spend,
You can't win.
You can't win.
Right, you
So
can't.
they just passed on the job. So
Wow.
spending is critically important. Okay, so let's set that aside, right?
But I
And get
love
back.
that answer, and I do think that is the right answer.
It was an incredible. It
yeah.
blew my
it's,
mind.
It's funny as two different guys from two different sports went the same way.
The same way.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, remove the ownership and look at it on its whole.
Yeah.
First of all, there is no such thing as easy to me. All of these are incredibly difficult.
Yeah,
jobs.
that's true. I've just ranked them in terms of difficult
Yeah.
level.
Right.
I said NFL. I thought NFL was the hardest because it's a 53-man roster that you're responsible for, plus the practice squad. You have 3 Division I teams that you're scouting.
Yep.
So it's such a wide field that
Plus the cap.
plus the cap you have to negotiate
Yeah.
and everything else. But just from the sheer number standpoint, NBA is it's 450 players. Now the trick with the NBA is you literally have to go all over the world to find players. You go to Greece, you go to France. France is a hotbed now. You can go.
Yeah, with the NFL, you're just looking at college.
NFL, you're looking in America. We're not at that point yet where you're going overseas. You're looking in America for
Right.
the baseball. It's primarily the Dominican.
Yeah.
You have the whole minor leagues you have to deal with, but you have a farm director for that, and the NFL guys have support staffs as well. I totally get that. But baseball, you have a job like one of your lieutenants. His only job is the farm and directing the farm and the farm teams. And now baseball has cut back on the number of farm teams that they had from years ago. So I would rank it probably NFL, MLB, NBA.
Wow. Even with the spending restrictions in the NBA.
Yeah, because it's only 450 people you're responsible for. And if you get it right, you can turn it fast. But if you get it wrong, and that was Mike's point we were talking earlier, if you get it wrong, it exposes you fast too. But I just think just the sheer mass, plus with the MLB, there's such a variance. You're scouting college kids who are using aluminum bats. The game changes when it's the one sport where the equipment literally changes.
Yeah, and the biggest piece of the equipment.
And it's hard to project with some of these guys.
But wouldn't you say this? When you're at the Mets, Dodgers spending level, you don't have to
But you know
recruit
what?
the college
You know what the
kids.
Dodgers don't get enough credit for? Their farm system is unbelievable.
Well, it is now.
and that's not spending.
No, it is now. But if you look at the guys on their roster, they're not homegrown.
Yes.
And they're all making $30 million
Yes,
a year.
of course. Yes,
So
that makes
if you have the right owner that says, yeah, unlimited funds, then all you're doing is replenishing the guys that are aging out of your roster with other young superstars.
But that's one job, and I'll give you the Mets too. That's two jobs.
Two.
What about everybody else?
Well,
Chris
that goes back
Antonetti
to-
doesn't have the same
That goes
job.
back to your original answer. It's about the owner.
It's about the owner.
Like if the owner is giving you unlimited tools.
But that's only one or two in
And
every
there's only
sport.
one sport where the owner can give you unlimited tools.
There's only one Jimmy Haslam in the NFL who will spend whatever it takes, and they have zero
And
playoff
still suck.
wins. They spent $1 billion in 4 years
Now,
and no playoff
is
wins.
this me or just it just seems that Major League Baseball there's more job security? Like
No.
I feel like I don't see general
That's because
managers
you're in
getting fired every
See,
week.
we don't. Well, two things there. One, in Cleveland, we've had incredible consistency because they've been great.
Yeah.
But
And they have an owner who stays the hell out of the way.
yes, when you go to other markets, they're changing GMs regularly.
Yeah.
You know, go to
Cashman's been in New York for a long time. That's
that's
an anomaly.
different. And
But
stunning that he's lasted.
I
as long
would
as he
I would
has.
be curious at the average life shelf of these guys.
I would think
but-
the NFL is by far the
But
shortest.
I think baseball's hard because in basketball the ball's the same. The hoops are still 10 feet. You have to project how guys are going to grow and develop, just like the NFL. How much bigger can this guy get?
Right.
The game doesn't change; it's still 100 yards. Baseball, literally, the game changes, the equipment changes, and trying to project how many guys have we seen? Spencer Torkelson's one example of a litany of guys who just mashed in college, and they get to the major leagues and they can't hit. Whether
Don't
it's
they
the
use a
wood.
different ball in football though, isn't the
Yeah, it's a
NFL
little smaller.
bigger?
It's actually smaller, but it's almost identical weight, but it is small, just a little smaller.
Yeah, it's
Not
basically
much.
the same.
It's
not
It
like
is smaller, so quarterback hand size does matter. In the NBA, the 3-point line's a little different.
the college. No, it's the same.
College is the
No,
it's,
no, NBA's deeper.
Yeah, the NBA's deeper
They
than college.
changed the college rules to make women's and men's the same, but it's
Right.
still.
But
No.
the men's,
Oh, you're right.
But the
You're right, because the
3-point
two
line
lines
is
on the
farther.
court. You're
But
right.
that's small.
You're
That's
right.
not like the baseball bat.
These dudes
the
are hitting
bat
shots
in
from half
baseball
court.
has a lot to do with it. It's so much easier to swing a 26-ounce
Yeah.
bat.
And the volatility of the pitcher, like these can't miss pitchers who then blow out their arms and they're
Sure.
never the same.
Yeah.
The volatility of injuries in baseball, and now every sport has.
And I
those,
think,
but it's worse in
when
baseball.
when you say volatility, there's more volatility in player temperament. Like, you got to think about it. If you draft somebody who's a franchise quarterback, you have to have understand, like, okay, is he going to spaz out, or a receiver, or in college or basketball, McNuggets, we was talking about it. Like, there's no rhyme or reason why somebody comes from college and becomes really good. Like guys that you didn't expect to be good, like Giannis. Like you can't predict that. Like Tyrese Maxey, no one
tough.
thought it's tough.
The
but
bandwidth thing is a good point with
Yeah.
the NBA too. You better be scouting the corners of every.
You got to go.
country now.
You got to be in Europe as much as you're in the U.S.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
So-
Mikey, how do you rank them?
Yeah, so I asked Bull. I want to give Bull's answers first.
Yeah.
And Bull said he thought baseball was the toughest because of a lot of things that you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
So many different players, minor league systems, keeping track of tabs. Guys may look good in spring training, not translate. Guys can get hot for 3 months and then completely fall off a cliff. Guys from one season to the next,
Sure.
great, and then not. What do you do? How do you predict that kind of stuff? I thought, and I may have actually changed my answer during this discussion. I thought it was football by a slight margin because quarterback's the most important position in the entire world of sports.
No question.
And the best people in the world, the people that are hired to do this at the highest of levels, have like a 35 to 40% hit rate on first-round quarterbacks.
Sure.
So the hardest position is damn near impossible
You know what
to
would be
figure
awesome?
out.
Do you guys mess around with AI at all?
A little bit.
This would be a perfect.
I think I'm writing this. If you're going with it,
Okay, what I would do for this, and I've been messing around with AI, and there's a way you can say, so you ask AI, write as a journalist a compare and contrast piece on the levels of difficulty between being a baseball general manager, NFL, or NBA, and make it 1,200 words. And I've done this on a number of topics. I've done it. The most recent one I did it on was who's the greatest baseball player of all time. Write it as a journalist. It blew my mind.
yeah.
Jason, it even threw in at the end. Now, don't forget Shohei Ohtani. And here's the argument for Ohtani.
Yeah.
And it mentions all the obvious, the Babe Ruths,
Yeah.
the Barry Bonds,
Yeah.
Ken Griffey, I think was mentioned. It mentions all these reasons why this player might be it. And at the very end, as an addendum, it said, although it's far too early in the discussion,
Yeah.
a player like Shohei Ohtani, if he can arc this out through a long enough career, would likely be the correct answer to this question. It was written on a New York Times level,
Yeah.
Jason.
what you gonna do, Jason? Y'all better figure something out.
Oh, we're going away. But
Sadly, I feel we all are.
I was.
Yeah.
I think this week I wanted to do it before I left for vacation. I didn't get to it. Do an AI story on all of these top quarterbacks and what does AI project their career numbers to be. Just to
It's
have
going
fun
to
with
blow
it.
you away, Jason.
Wow.
Real
And
quick-
by the way, it spit this article out. I think I asked it to write a 1,200 word piece.
in
on
10 seconds. What did you
like-
use? ChatGPT?
No, I used the one that our company is kind of aligning
okay.
itself with. The
Okay.
name, I got it bookmarked upstairs. It did it in seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In seconds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I was, when I first started reading it, I'm like, oh, this is going to be filled with mistakes. It's not going to be grammatically
No,
correct.
no.
I'm like, this would pass
Yeah,
any
some of them are pretty
of the
dangerous.
most strict editor's eye test.
To Mike's point, though, about quarterbacks, what's really funny to me, I think we would all agree Jerry Jones is a horrendous general manager of an NFL team.
Owner.
Yeah, and GM.
But
He's the
yeah,
GM.
he's the GM.
Yeah,
that
he
dude
is.
runs into mid-round quarterbacks like nobody else. Tony Romo, Dak Prescott.
I know.
Wow.
Browns can't find one in the first
what's
round.
interesting about that is that's the hardest piece to get right,
Yeah,
and he's gotten that right.
He's gotten it.
But he can't get everything
Got it with
else
Romo.
right.
Got it with Prescott.
That is-
middle round guys.
Yeah,
like
and Romo
Cowboys
came
look at
from
this-
like Southern Illinois.
Yeah, I know.
Eastern Illinois. yeah.
Eastern Illinois. I mean, at least Dak came from Mississippi or Mississippi
Mississippi State. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
All right,